Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, we come to you today as an assembled body. We humbly request that you bless our meeting, community, and our nation. Help us work together for the common good. Guide us to be insightful and prudent in our intentions. Work through us to provide a spirit of welcome to all in attendance and engage in respectful and thoughtful dialogue. Amen. How about the pledges?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the flag, I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Let's see what we have. Any comments from the public? Consider an act on adjustments.
I don't have any.
Do you have any?
We, obviously there was two last month. We conveyed your comments to them, on both. And then I think with the second one, which was the commercial property, there was question about, flow data for, August. There was a particular date in mind where there was a question of whether or not that much water could go through the meter and all that. We've come back, we did a manual pull of all the data coming off the meter, and identified that in fact there was, basically about 3,300 gallons that was running through, on their meter over 3 days, which is perfectly normal and matched all the other days of their flows, before and after so there wasn't 10,000 gallons that went through the day in one day. That wasn't a thing.
Really quick?
So I have that, I have copies for y'all of just the data. We sent this over to them today. But we don't have anybody here, so. Those two
What you're saying-
adjustments are still pending, I think from.
Well, we could address both of them because we asked for, the customer to submit an insurance adjusters report detailing that the pool was not covered and also the weekly summary, which I guess that's what that is for the residents.
For the residents, I'll see
For
if
the
I,
business situation.
yeah, that's for the business one.
Okay, well, the business one, we can talk about in a minute, but did, the homeowner provide that information to us?
No, we do not have that.
Okay,
We don't have their insurance. I think that's private information.
he said that the insurance adjusters report stated that the pool was not covered.
I see.
And that was the point that I made. I wasn't questioning the proprietary nature of the information.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Okay, so for that one, we're gonna hold that until we get the information, or we just want to go forward and just go along with what you said?
That's
What does the board want to do?
So we're talking about the residential customer, right? now. So we all heard and we got the letter, we got the policy. And
Oh, we got,
we can deal with these right now, right? Yeah.
Wait,
So
do we get the policy?
what's that? Well, no, we got the WWA policy. So we have the policy and we have the letter that she's provided. And
the policy, the WWA policy is a separate issue. That's something that we have to
what I'm
read.
saying is we've all read the policy.
Yes, we have.
We've all read the policy.
The policy allows me to approve anything up to 1,000 gallons.
Correct.
Because this was above that, that's why it has to go before the board.
So the first question is, the only information we've received back, is, we've received nothing from the residential customer, additional information.
Correct.
So that's all we have. So the question is, we want to ask ourselves is, do we want to accept that non-reply and move
Well, one step
forward to a
before
discussion?
that. Was the residential customer notified of what we asked for?
Yes,
Okay, and she's not replied,
we haven't heard anything back, just notification.
unless the board disagrees. I think we postpone it. I'm in favor of it, if she could provide the documentation, that's all I'm suggesting. I'd like us to make an informed decision, that's all.
And this goes on Woodlands Water letterhead to the resident. That we would give her another 60 days to provide the.
We just typically email.
Email.
Okay.
Okay.
Tom, you have a thought?
I had a thought about the business.
Oh, yeah, next one.
Yeah.
So
They're
in,
here.
in this, we want to delay,
We'll postpone the
Postpone.
residential until. next
table this
week.
again until,
Yeah, I have a question.
Reiterate,
Has she ever corresponded with you through email previously?
I believe so.
Yeah, I got her email.
Okay,
Yeah, there's,
just want to make sure that she.
there is a
aware.
letter through the email.
She.
Yes,
Okay.
If you need a copy of it, I can.
I haven't looked in the car.
Well,
Okay,
I think what she's saying is, if she's never communicated with us via email, we need to send her a letter, but maybe we could just send her a letter as well. So she gets it.
so just to make sure we have two more board members. We have three old board members. Since we've only been on the board, this is our third year. And we haven't met yet during Christmas month. So if we elect not to meet in December, so this means you're gonna delay a decision on this to January, November or January. November, right? So we'll table it for another month.
I think
And ask-
30 days is reasonable.
And ask for,
We'll reiterate and ask for the adjuster report.
brings up the next one.
okay, let's discuss the commercial property. Anybody wants to begin that discussion?
I think, so last month we heard the presentation. There was a couple questions. I know that the board had asked about whether or not they had filed that on their insurance. When we left, there was question about whether or not there was, I think for a period right there in August, there was on WaterSmart, it was showing that there was 10,000 gallons or so that went through the meter over a day or two. And so what we did just to verify what the actual flows were is the way that these automatic meter system works is the meter is constantly collecting data. And then the meter sends a notice to what's called the gateway. And then that's what collects and sends it, kind of uploads it into the software that you see on your computer. If there's a disk, if it's not speaking to one another on, actively, then as soon as it picks back up, so I think that's what they were seeing online, because when that happens, and there's any question about it, we actually go and pull the actual data off the meter, which we did. So we pulled 90 days worth, and over at those particular dates, which is what I just sent you or just showed you, which I sent to them as well today. It was actually 8/19, 8/20, and 8/21. You can see the daily flows: 35/32, 33/92, 33/18. And then if I also gave you a couple, there's about a 20-page report with lots of dates, but there's a lot of zeros and I just gave you the information that these dates, what you're seeing here is on March 1 to June 5th, this sheet that's very small.
Yeah.
Yep.
It shows those little bumps. If you can read it, it's 4,500, 4,800, 4,700, 47. Those are irrigation days, basically the days that the irrigation system went on. Then the break happened and you saw that data last month. Then I fast forward to the second page that I gave you. Flip it, there you go. 6/27, 6/28. I can't remember if those were dates that were being the repairs have been done, but you start getting into 7/2, 7/5, and you start to see a trend where the irrigation was fixed, and when they're running it, it's now back into, well, prior to the breaks, it looks like on irrigation days, they were run 4,700, 4,800, Now, after the break, it looks like the irrigation days are more in the 3,300, 3,100. And then August 19th, 20th, and 21st, it follows that same pattern.
Right.
When I think that's when they said they were testing it just to make sure that everything was fixed. And so I just wanted to point out the data that we have. Obviously, there's a lot more to, in the presentation, but from last month, but we didn't have that last month, so wanted to update
Actually,
you on that.
sorry for being late. We brought new evidence and some were, another presentation I would like to share with you if there's time.
Oh, sure.
His device.
Time to share it now.
Did you bring paper copies?
I brought paper copies as
All
well.
right, you can pass out paper copies, but I want to limit it to 10
Yeah.
minutes because we ran over last time.
Yeah, we don't have time to rest. I'll do an hour.
Some paper copies to I deliver them and no presentation. That's it.
Let's take care of it. Polite meeting, I think.
Otherwise, yes, other stuff.
Yes, I only brought 5 copies. All right. There's a couple of data that I want to share with you.
This is the new one.
Top one's different than the one.
Yes, it's a different one.
Okay.
Now I can make more copies. And if I could just have 10 minutes to expose a couple of
Yes.
things that that we saw.
Okay, I got one. I have this.
You're saying, do you want to give him 10 minutes or what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
10 minutes, thank you. So thank you for your time again. Just a quick recap, our league started, it was reported to us on May 30. On June 7, it was fixed by Mr. Ruder. On
Yeah,
June
maybe-
7 as well, Mr. Ruder reported
This
the
is
senior
your-
league. That it was fixed on June 21st by MAE, our lawn company. On June 28th, it was excessive water consumption notification. On June 29th, we shut the valve again off. On July 24th, we engaged with American Leak Detection to perform a water leak test in our property, and no leak was found. On August 19th, we reopened the valve. On August 21st, we received a second notification of excessive water consumption. So we shut the valve again off. Items pending from last meeting that we had is that if our insurance cover this issue, this incident, the answer is no. And we also spoke with our broker and he mentioned to us that he has no knowledge that there's a product for that. One of the things that's pending is that we asked you if we could perform a test with a third-party company. You told us that we were able to do it, but you needed to be present during the time of the test. The thing is that the only company that could test our meter told us that it needed 15 days offsite to perform the test, so we couldn't perform the test. The slides you see as new test with a black square in it are videos that we tested our water meter. And the important thing is on this page over here, it's the results of our test. The water meter, the initial reading was 3,586,000 gallons. At the end of our test, it was reading 3,587,000 gallons. 12 zones were inspected, no sprinkler heads were damaged, no leaks found. The duration of the test was 15 minutes. We consumed 353 gallons in 15 minutes, so it's for us it's a big number. That's equal 22 gallons per minute.
And during the test, we were only testing like one zone at a time. So only one zone of the 12 zones or 13 zones were working at every minute. So
Yes.
I
one
think
at
it's
a
a
time.
high consumption even for just one zone.
One extra piece of evidence that we would like to present here in the water bill is that you regularly send our invoices and the reading are from the 30th to the 30th of each month. This reading was from the 31st to 19th of May, of April, sorry. So that is very weird because the leak actually started on the 19th. So it makes no sense. It's kind of,
Strange or out of the
Strange.
normal cycle of billing of the water.
On the one that shows the 21,000, why does it say corrected bill, corrected bill, corrected bill?
I don't know,
exactly.
we,
So
last
so
time we mentioned that
that-
we received two bills. The first bill was with a lower consumption, and then we received a second bill with the updated meter
Yeah.
lecture. So I don't know how that happened, but we received actually two bills.
So we're suggesting that the equipment is faulty.
Yes, that's what the.
yes, that's was part of our conclusion at the end. But yeah, we did receive.
Eric tested it. I had his company or operation test it. Thank you. You missed the important part.
Sorry.
It's all your fault.
Okay.
So yeah, we
You have
did
an extra
receive
one?
two
I never got one.
invoices. One with our regular consumption that we did an average and it was around 45 units a month. And this time we received it for 48, but then there was a second bill and we received the invoice for 2,582 units. So it didn't make any sense for us. On this graph, what we're showing is that if we were billed on the 30th of the month, our risk would be minimal because if there was a leak, we would have noticed with just
8 on 10 days.
10 days of the 12 days of the leak, that would represent 877,000 gallons. That would be an invoice for 7,000, not 21,000. And we have a couple of questions that we're asking ourselves that we would want to share with you. So how can it be that 35 days, neither our tenants are there in a daily basis, nor our loan company who's there on a weekly basis, nor us, that as a property manager are there twice, one time every 2 weeks, notice the leak? Second question, isn't it strange that the day that the supposed leak started, it's exactly the day that we received the invoice? Third question is, for 35 days, Woodlands Water knew about the massive water consumption and no one did nothing? Fourth question is, what happened on May 23rd? The water consumption was reduced by 33%. And number 5 is, since the beginning, since last meeting that we had, we've been stating that we corrected, we shut the valve off on May 30th. So, and we are not receiving any water meter water consumption from May 24th all the way to May 30th. So that is very strange for us as well. So something is happening. We also brought another piece of evidence, a little research that we did. It's the most common failures or faults on the water meter. It says inaccurate readings, physical damage, and communication errors. That's not something that we think it's happening with our meter. So in the end, with this new evidence, we think that we can resolve this issue in our favor.
Understand this water bill. So you got the one water bill that appears to be correct. And then for the same time period, you got one that says corrected bill. Everything's dated the same. This doesn't make sense. That's empirical evidence does not make sense at all. So I don't understand, how could that happen?
Look at it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
this one piece right here makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, and actually what is also important is why we get a bill on the 30th of the month, at the end of the month.
The
Like
fact that
it was delayed.
You got
Yes.
two separate bills for the exact same time. One appears to be correct, one appears to be wildly out of whack. And yet it says corrected bill, but the dates are all the same. Yeah.
That's something
Okay.
we're not getting either.
But what it seems like to me is that Eric, as I recall, you had the meter tested and it was correct, and it was fine. It measured properly. They're saying that that may not be accurate. They're also saying that the invoices are conflicting, which is just what Wendy is saying too. So it seems to me that, and I defer to the board here, that the WWA has to research two things. One, the accuracy of the bills, the adjustments to the bills that were made, and also reconfirm that the equipment is correct. And if all of those things are accurate, then it changes my point of view on how I was going to rule on this.
Sure.
But, I think we need to postpone this until that happens.
Agreed.
Does anyone?
Well, I'm pro company because I own a company, so I'm gonna, without my prejudice. You've already been drafted. You've already paid that money. It came out of your bank account, correct?
No, that's only one
It
time.
hasn't.
We
Okay.
stopped it. We stopped it. We've been taking the current.
That was my
charges,
concern for you.
but not
Okay,
without-
then fine.
It's under review.
Yes, but I didn't know whether, because it's an automatic draft, I didn't know if they had already been hit with that amount.
Yeah, no, I noted the draft, that exact date, and like it was unusual. So I
stopped paying
called personally the bank and they stopped the payment because they said, yeah, you don't
Okay.
really get those bills.
Yeah, what I would suggest is exactly what Fred mentioned. Let us go through this information and see if we can figure it out.
Yeah, because it almost looks like some kind of computer glitch.
I don't know. There has been times where, when we have bills that look really strange, and it may be the case that our staff saw it and said that can't be right, made an adjustment. And typically the adjustment would go back to the norm,
Mhm.
just because there was 2.5 million gallons of water that went through it.
Yeah,
And that's a lot,
uh-huh.
right? And it may be that when we then went out and identified that, oh yeah, they do have some problems, that they recorrected it back to what it actually was saying.
Right.
That may be what happened.
The
But
other,
I gotta look at it.
yeah, the other thing is too, their data is different than the data you just presented. So I don't know what.
No, that's not positive.
The dollars, and he presented gallons. This, what they're saying now, it's they're talking about the dollars
Yeah.
associated with it.
Yeah, but it's also showing the gallons, which basically is taken from your report. And also what we can see in the consumption, we receive an email that's saying that the maximum consumption per month is 75,000 gallons. So basically you are saying, like, basically this consumption is showing that, like, we have available like the full capacity, like for the
Of the
entire
5
month, like the
days.
entire 45 days without any breakdown or any difference in pressure and things like that.
I'm
So
glad you brought this in because this is nonsensical. It doesn't work, doesn't jive. So the water bill to me is pretty evidentiary.
So
And
what this
the-
says is that your system is capable of passing 75,000 gallons a day.
That's the maximum capacity.
That's maximum
And-
capacity.
And what we're.
If you divide 75,000 into you
Exactly.
use, how many days is that?
The research that we did is that it is very strange to have no water interruptions for that period of time. Because if you see this chart, there were no water flow interruptions, and it kept steady for 35 days. So that's weird.
and you need to have the pipe completely open with no obstruction and anything like that. So that looks also strange for us.
And then again, we're on Woodlands Parkway. Someone wouldn't notice.
But I'll speak to my home irrigation system, and I'm not an expert, I'm just a homeowner. You have a controller on this, and usually those controllers, they cut on and off. But if you have a valve that's bad, it can remain open
It's insane.
and water can flow. So I guess the question I would have, and an expert could correct me, but if a valve fails,
If you take a look at the notes in our minutes from the previous month, it says on June 28th, they received a leak notification and found that the valve had been reopened. Well, that wasn't done by the WWA or the SDRA. So the question is, did Norix do it? Did Nortex do it, or the lawn service or the plumber? We didn't do it.
Right.
well, there's
So-
two valves here. There's a backflow preventer, right, and there's the irrigation valve ahead of the segment.
And now there's a lock on it. correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And I have a question. If you said that you're used to getting bills on the 30th of the month.
Yeah.
Did you reach out to us? Did you reach out to the Woodlands Water when you didn't receive a bill on the 30th?
It was the first time that we received a bill on the
Yeah,
19th.
no, because sometimes we get some bills delayed because of the postal service, so,
Because of the what? I'm sorry.
of the postal service.
Okay. But that doesn't track, because if you got a bill on the 19th and then we scanned the 30th, and then you didn't get it on the 19th of May, and then you got the bill on the 30th, like there's some time lag. Like I still get a paper bill and it runs like clockwork.
Mhm.
And I'm just a resident. I don't have a commercial business here yet, but I was just wondering why y'all didn't reach out if you got it that early.
Yeah, well, I would say probably my people that like didn't look for it because it was under ACH transaction, so even though we don't get the invoice, it will be dropped from our account.
We will go
Any more
through it all and
Yeah, I can give you an extra,
So we'll table this for
30
more
days.
information into November.
we can do it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
for your time.
Thanks.
Well, let's see what we got here. So let's go to the consent agenda. Anybody have anything they want to pull out of the consent agenda for good discussion?
Only observation that I'll make is on number 8. I spoke with Maureen. She does something that I think is wonderful. She sweeps manually the cash accounts and moves it into the highest interest bearing account. And I think that's wonderful. It's great. It's good fiduciary responsibility. And thank you, Maureen. Appreciate that. I know it's a pain because I have to do it myself, so I know it.
Any other comment? Have a motion to pass the consent agenda?
I got it.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's go to the regular agenda, item 11. Receive the SRA Woodlands Division report, including updates on operations projects and public outreach.
I just have one item to add. This sheet here, this is regarding the wastewater plant 1 Plant of the Year award that was won by Texas Water. I believe you have a copy in front of you. Some of y'all may,
2023, right?
correct, 2023.
Yeah.
This year was another facility. Just want to draw your attention to the very last sentence in this thing. It says, for their sterling record in employee development, environmental matters, reliable operations, and outstanding teamwork, SJ Area Wastewater Plant 1 has won this award. So the reason I bring this up is I know there are some people that are talking about, well, it's winning awards, the plant does not need to be replaced, it's in full compliance. And all I wanted to say is the award is based off of the employees and the compliance of the facility, which we've never put into any doubt whatsoever. The employees definitely work hard and they keep the plant in compliance.
So it has nothing to do with structural.
Correct. Nothing at all related to structural, concrete, piping, age of the facility. So
Yeah.
that award is for the people. It's not, I mean, it's for the plant, but I mean, the people make that award. So just want to draw your attention to that.
I run large industrial facilities and I always find it a combination of the plant structure and the employees. And if you ever, as you guys have described, this plant has not been very favorable over the last 2 years. And I find it surprising that we find out about this award, 2 weeks ago. And so I have some questions. We skipped those steps doing the $2 million study in understanding the condition of the facility, and we're waiting for the information.
So just to clarify one thing, anytime wastewater plant 1, 2, 3, the employees, myself included, win any award, we put it in the packet. We come back and we'll let y'all know. We also had let our board know as well. So we started applying for awards around 2010, and Plant One has won every 2 to 3 years for a number of years. But there's no hiding that. It's
Yeah.
for the employees. They do a good job and, wanted to show y'all. So, this sheet right here, you may have seen 2 weeks ago or a week ago, whenever you first saw it, as the trustees, it was handed out. But I can assure you, and it's probably in the minutes as well, these are notified to y'all, just to make sure everybody is aware of that, because it is something that y'all definitely do help us achieve with the funding of the facilities. Just wanted to put it
We
out
help
there.
you, but you do it.
I'm sorry?
We help you, but you actually do it. You implement it. Yeah, yeah, that's good.
It's a partnership all the way, entirely.
So in light of that, I have the over this month report on wastewater treatment plant number 1, a condition assessment. And this is on item number 3. You list all of the different areas that we need to look at. Lift stations 1 and 2, sludge thickener, yada, yada, yada.
What page are you on, Fred?
41. It says 38.
So that's from the trustees meeting. I believe it's page 41 in your packet here.
Okay. Is it possible for you to take this list, and I have a copy of chapter 217 and design criteria of the system and processes, to label for each one of these areas that need to have work, which subchapter it falls on, so we could take a look at it, because there's no way that I would know that.
Entirely agree. Part of the study that Corella is doing now, because I confirmed last week before I presented this to the trustees, is to basically do what you're saying.
Okay,
So
good.
listing improvements that are needed with lift station 1, 2, the thick aeration basins, and basically where they sit today and then what they need to be. Now, it may not be exactly what you're looking for with, citation and everything else.
It's a good benchmark and a good talking point.
Agree. So I did confirm that as part of the study.
When do you think we would have that?
Is that May
Mayor
or June of next year?
So between now and May or June of next year, we won't be able to know which one of these subchapters these fall under?
I could start looking into the subchapters.
I've not gone to the full text. I mean, I could, but
The consultant is still
They
working
just handed it to me.
on the analysis for the 4 options that the trustees and each of the MUDs agreed to. So that's when they expect to deliver their results.
so we're not looking to get information until May or June of next year.
Correct.
Okay.
There's also no decisions until after that time as well.
Right.
So.
So I just handed out a flyer from the SRA. Several of the MUD presidents were at a Pachyderm Club meeting at Spring Creek Barbecue 2 weeks ago, in which the general manager, Mr. Spears, spoke. And this was the handout they handed out. And how this all began, somebody understands the history. If you turn this over here, it talks about the awards. And like I said, it could have been that the 3 presidents missed it. 2 were still on the board at the time, but it kind of surprised us, to see that. And so that was one issue. So you have a copy of the handout, and it's a very nice professionally done handout, to be honest with you.
As you come into our Woodlands office, division office,
You have it out there.
all you have to do is walk down the hall and you'll see the awards.
Yeah.
There are flags, there are plaques, they're all on display.
Yeah.
Now, some of them have been put in storage, the older ones.
Right.
But they go back to the date that Chris mentioned.
So, since we're talking about this now, I also have, there was a discussion, I realized Ed's corrected the statement already. There was a report, so we had a trustee meeting,
Oh, I know.
yeah. And, Director
Give me another
Gaynor
one.
of MUD 6 began a discussion about all the studies that have been done already to justify the replacement of the plant. And so, you throw a report at me, I go read it. And what this does is this document, it basically tells us how to maintain wastewater treatment plant 1. And so that kind of caught my eye. And you said that Mr. Gaynor spoke, he did speak correctly, and I accept that. Also, in that report on page 39,
Is that the report from 2014?
24, yeah, 15, yeah, 14, 15, right,
Yeah.
right. It's the same thing I handed out at the trustee meeting.
Oh.
And then in that report, they also, and this is where, we'll have to wait for the response, but, they have a page in here, page 3.9, in which the consultant says meets TCEQ criteria. And it talks about the clarifiers and it says, yes, yes, yes. So I guess we need clarification on that stuff, which will come May and.
Correct. I
Yeah.
also verified with Corello as well. I asked them, because they have that report, so I asked them to go back to that page and look at that and see what they.
Yeah.
Part of the benefit of having that study is any questions y'all have given us or anything you come up with while they're still working, we can pass it to them so they can clarify.
And Brad Howe is the president of, I forget the HUD now. He gave you a letter, which I think is included in the packet now, where they responded to that. So I think
That's
it is referring to that we need to pay attention. We need to read that thoroughly and understand it. If we have additional questions, we should feed them through Eric.
Yeah, Senator, I'll be happy to.
What else you got?
If you have any questions, I'm done.
Question for you. In looking at your financial report for the last fiscal year, it looks like that you've got a decrease on budget for revenue, but a cost savings on expenses yielding a excess funds of approximately 5 million and change. You might recall my rather agitated point of view last year on excess funds. It hasn't changed. And I'm just wondering, having presented my point of view to the trustees board last year, was met with support by only 2 MUDs, 46 and 47. Motion was passed. I think it was incorrectly done. And for the record, I don't think it was properly, better useful word, adjudicated by the SGRA. I'd like to know what your plans are for the excess funds this year. And before we get into that, I'd like to go back and have you give us information on the 5 projects that you said the money that I always use the word took. No, the money that was approved for you to use for the 5 projects. I'd like to know where those 5 projects stand, because it's money that almost 1.2 million for this MUD. It was the largest amount of any of the MUDs was given to the SGRA. I'd like to see value for our investment. Where do those 5 projects
So-
stand?
What I can do.
Hang on, I got the list. I got the list here.
So, yeah, if you've got the list, they should all, for the most part, be in this, start on page 23, but one of them was the town center water line easements. That project's currently on hold right now, pending the AC water line condition assessment test. Because we don't want to spend the money if we're not gonna do the project. So that entire thing's on hold right now.
Well, my only point is, as an overall observation, when money is allocated for projects with the WWA or the SGRA, in some cases, years go by without expensing those projects or reporting on those projects to keep us aware of it. From a fiscal perspective, if the money isn't used within a fiscal year, I believe that money should go back to the source, the MUDs, and be requested and rejustified when that project looks to be coming due, as opposed to being held into an account where, as board members change, we may not have the legacy memory to go back and say, hey, wait a second, we gave $750,000. What happened to it? And I see that information in my research on the SFDUE, which drives me insane, and I can't find solutions to it. And I'm concerned that the same thing is going to happen with the excess funds from last year. I want to have responsibility taken, and I believe you're doing it. I just need to know what it is, as do the other board members, because we spent almost 1.2 million, and I'd like to know what the plans are for the money from last year.
So there's a few different things you said in there.
Yes, sir. That's
First
correct.
off, all the different projects we report on page 23.
Correct.
Let me look at it and see if there's some, not easy way, there's a lot of easy ways. Let me designate the not future funds, the excess funds projects in here. That way you can maybe easily identify them. Let me put them at the top or put them at the bottom or something.
That would be helpful.
But town center water lines in here, the easements in here, TxDOT's not in here because that was owned and funded, that was said and done. taken care of. The bridge
That
construction-
should have been approved from the get-go. I have no problem with that.
Right.
I agree with that.
Yeah, but if it's an R&R based project, which is the only fund that we have that goes from year to year to year, they are covered starting on page 43 reported month.
Yeah, I took a look at the projects on 5.0 and 5 of them affect MUD 46. And when I take a look at the projects that are on here, not all of them affect MUD 46, but we had, from a pro rata perspective, allocated $1.2 million approximately. So I don't know how those are split up here, which ones belong. And maybe we don't need that because you do have the financial detail here. I'm not trying to get into the nitty gritty. I'm just trying to make sure that the overall sum is being properly allocated and reported to the appropriate MUDs that spent the money.
Not a problem. Let me look at kind of formatting this a little bit so I can identify those excess fund ones so you can track them each month. I said TxDOT was said and done. I think it came in like $2,000 or $3,000 less than the budget was, but since it was O&M based, last year's O&M based, it is included in that excess funds. So if you gave us 400,000 to spend, if we spent 350, the other 50 would be a part of the excess funds.
Okay.
So currently, go ahead.
Before we leave that point, does that $50,000, does that get carried over to the following year? Or does it get refunded to the MUDs
It gets carried over to excess funds.
for the following year?
Every year in February of every year, we have that conversation. In March, we look for an approval for whatever the case may be.
Okay.
Right now, I have no idea how much excess funds we have. Looking at the July financials that you were looking at, looks like 5 million,
Yes.
right? But I don't know what happened in August. So I don't know. At the end of the day, we wait for the audit to be done. Once the financial audit's done, that's why it's in February. We come back to y'all.
What I did as a benchmark is I went back a year to take a look at the previous July to what actually the excess fund was to see what the delta. The delta was minuscule, a couple $1,000, not worth pursuing. This one seems to be similar, about $5 million. And it looks like our portion, 46, will be about 900,000. And again, that's fairly big money. And as we're moving up our number of months coverage, as the new budget shows, we've gone from 3 to 4. Now it looks like we'll end this year with 5 months coverage. This would help us go a long way to provide the coverage that Eric suggests that we want us to do.
I already agree. And so since last year, and actually since the last 2 years with excess funds, I don't want to have excess funds. That's one reason the rate dropped this year. It's not an easy conversation, right?
No, it's not.
So I've been looking at what projects we can have, been talking to Ed. Right now, there's 1 or 2 that are probably under $500,000 worth that I can see. Because when you look at the projects in the project plan, the R&R is going to be cash funded at 6 million per year.
Correct.
So unless y'all want to pre-fund that for the next year, there's no need for those funds at this point from what I can see.
And that's my perspective. Why pre-fund if you don't have to?
Agreed.
Okay,
Because
good.
if we don't have the funding, we go back to y'all. Now, nothing's set in stone. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking now, because somebody will make the decision, but it won't be me.
I'm not a decision maker on this side. Important decision.
No,
I just want to provide, good stewardship for our constituents. That's all I'm trying to do.
agreed. If we have projects that are warranted and justifiable, we'll definitely bring them. Right now, I don't see anything. There's 2 of them that I'm looking at are probably less than $500,000 is what I'm seeing at this point in time.
Okay.
But the bottom line is we're going to follow what the investment policy that the trustees adopted. If it says that if it shows that there's 4 million, 5 million, whatever the number is excess funds,
I understand that you're
we're going to
implementing what the trustee board.
we're going to come to the trustees with a recommendation on what to do with those.
Yeah, I have a problem with the policy. I have a problem with the trustee board and the leadership of the trustee board. That's my personal problem. It has nothing to do with you. But it's something where if we are to do our job right, to protect our constituents, we need to ask these difficult questions. We need to hold the trustees' feet to the fire that they need to present what the board and their constituents want, not their personal point of view. And I'm concerned that some of the voting in this particular case, I think that, in my opinion, the voting was done in a way that follows predetermined biases that are not necessarily in the best interest of the constituents, certainly for MUD 46. I can't speak for the other ones. So that's my point of view on it.
Just add one little thing briefly. When you're looking at page 22 and looking at the financials, because I'm trying to figure out how we, have $5 million left at the end of the day, when I know just about everything has been done. The two biggest drivers is one going to be the GRP refund that everybody did. That's 3.3 million that I did not have to fund in that expense. That's the biggest component. The second is going to be the electrical. As you know, throughout the year, the electrical rates went down. So there's just about 1.2 million in that. So of the 5 million, 4.5 almost, if memory serves, is from those two items alone.
Just 36.
So just that point.
Any of this funding, because it was an area called Emergency Reserve Fund, did any of that Emergency Reserve Fund go to pay down debt?
No.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Okay, so that's right. All finished? Right. Yeah, good. Okay, so
And
Next question.
When do you think you'll have that rework of the projects and funding?
Next month's meeting is what I'll be shooting.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great.
So the question I have is, we had an agenda item we tabled last month.
Yes.
Do we want to do that next?
Love to.
Love to. Why don't we do that next? So we don't miss it again.
Sure. So last month, basically, if you recall, Water Renewal of the Woodlands and partnering with SRA a year, I think almost a year ago, Holloway, a PR communications firm was hired to assist in building the communications with the community to help educate the community on infrastructure, on renewal, aging infrastructure, all of the. And so over the last year, been going through the structure, the strategy, communication, and then the buildup of the communications, Water Renewal of the Woodlands website. So at all of the MUD meetings, which we ran out of time last month, we had a presentation from Holloway to kind of walk us through kind of what we've been doing, how we got here, and then give you a sneak peek of the website, which is now live. It's been out for about 3 weeks. But so Cindy Dees is here with Holloway today to give us that presentation.
Thank you for the introduction. Yes, so I'm Cindy Dees with Holloway Environmental and Communications. We are a small business based out of Houston, so right down the road. I'm very familiar with the whole entire region. And so I think I have a PowerPoint. I don't know if you have the website or the PowerPoint pulled up, Morgan. Okay, perfect. Watch your eyes. Yeah, thank you for the light. Thank you for hitting the light.
Those TV stuff.
I know. We're working on it.
All right. Yeah, thank you. So this is a little bit more about Holloway. We've actually been around for about 30 years. We used to be formerly named Crouch Consulting, and now we are Holloway as of the last several years. We specialize in environmental, but we also have an arm of our business that is about strategic communications, community engagement, and creative services, which is what I specialize in. We have worked on quite a few projects in the Houston area over those 30 years, including one that I'm working on as well, Map Next with Harris County and Harris County Flood Control, where we're mapping a new flood zone area for all of Harris County. And we've also specialized in some Gulf Coast projects like our Coastal Texas Protection and Restoration Feasibility Study, as well as the Sabine Pass to Galveston Bay program and Orange County Coastal Storm Risk Management project. So those have really fused a lot of our environmental and communications arms together on some of those projects, but I do specialize in strategic communications. All right, so what is Water Renewal of the Woodlands? As Eric mentioned, we did launch this educational and awareness campaign about 3 weeks ago, and it is a collaborative effort. As I've heard y'all talking tonight, there's a lot of agencies and entities involved in making everything happen here in the Woodlands. And so this is a collaborative effort by Woodlands Water, MUDS, and the SJRA. It's focused on long-term modernization and rehab of water and wastewater infrastructure. So we'll be highlighting different projects that are ongoing here in the Woodlands, as well as talking about, future projects. But the sources of those projects come from SJRA's 10-year project plan, which is updated annually, as you're probably aware, as well as Woodlands Water, additional projects that have been identified. But the main objective of Woodlands Water is transparency and education, is really providing that awareness to the public, to customers about what is happening, why are we doing this, what to know so that people are educated and can make informed decisions or informed opinions about what is going on. It's also to, a couple more things. Ensure efficient, reliable water and wastewater services and infrastructure soundness really for the next several decades here in the Woodlands. So protecting that future. All right, now we can move on. How did we get to today? Why am I here talking to you? Well, back in the fall of last year, there was a needs assessment. That was the first task that Holloway did. And that was really assessing the ways that Woodlands Water and SGRA currently communicates with customers. And so we did that assessment, and that really serves as the foundation for our next steps. We kind of get a lay of the land. How are things really kind of going on? What's the current status of things when it comes to communications with customers? So we use the findings of that assessment to inform our communication plan, which is communication plan is a key document that we use for many of our projects. It really outlines that clear strategy of how we're going to effectively communicate with any audience or audiences. How are we going to effectively educate and share messaging about the water renewal? So that really serves as our guide for how we're going to implement. It's kind of our roadmap. Implementation is where we really are right now. And that puts our strategy that we've outlined in that communication plan into practice. And it's a multifaceted and coordinated action plan. It's not just Woodlands Water. It includes things that SGRA, has agreed to do. It could potentially include things we're going to come talk to you about. It has a lot of different layers to it. So we'll talk a little bit more about that today. We can move it to the next slide. So we did launch a website, which you may have seen by now, but that website is really the hub of information for water renewal of the Woodlands. It's where everything is going to live. It's going to be our common source to point everyone back to and really serve as the place that people can get used to and accustomed to going throughout the life of water renewal of the Woodlands. So who helped us create that website? Holloway definitely didn't do that alone. The Woodlands Water staff and Public Education Committee definitely were very involved in creating and helping develop that website, as well as the SGRA. We always start our website builds with key messaging that those entities I just mentioned help us create and approve. So that way, those messages are the cornerstone of everything we're going to be saying throughout the life of any given campaign. And so we also got a lot of that information from the source from Woodlands Water and SGRA. We had a review process, as I kind of alluded to, multiple revisions. We never create a product without all of the applicable parties being at the table and looking at that information and ensuring their approval is on those documents. For future editions, when I show you the website, you'll kind of see a little bit more of what I'm talking about. We do plan to add more to the website. We are working on an interactive map with project information because we want to have more detailed information on the website that people can really dive into and drill down, understand exactly what we're talking about, what projects, and how much do they cost, all of the different things they would want to know. And project summary sheets will also be linked to that interactive map is our vision. So project summary sheets are one-pagers, you may call them, are really one-page sheets that tell everything about every single project. So each project will get its own project sheet. And so that is the goal. There could be some smaller projects that maybe are on one sheet, but for the most part, every project is going to get their own project summary sheet. And then funding information, as that is defined, we would provide funding information on the website as well. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more about the website. And again, you may have seen this. If not, then get ready. So this is the website that it has been launched in coordination with Water Renewal of the Woodlands. And what we're trying to do here on the landing page is really understand, why are we talking about this? And what exactly is this all about? When I say Water Renewal of the Woodlands, what does that mean? And so the homepage really outlines kind of what we're talking about, that there is, some aging infrastructure, There's not a lot of detailed information on this website yet. That is what we're going to be building toward, but it does kind of lay the foundation about why we're here. It also talks about why now. Why is this important to talk about now? Infrastructure has a life cycle, and so that's definitely one of the reasons why we're talking about this now. Who's involved? Again, I'm going to keep going back to transparency. We want people to know, like, who's behind this? What is Water Renewal of the Woodlands, and who's responsible for this at the end of the day? So we do have links back to the partners' websites. And hopefully very interactive and getting more interactive, especially when we add that map in that I was talking about. Roles and responsibilities. So much of what you'll see on the website is based on things we found out in that needs assessment. We did identify in the needs assessment that there was, some lack of clarity about what each entity does in the Woodlands. And so we wanted to really clearly define, what does Woodlands Water do? What does the MUDs do? What does SJRA do? And that, is information that is already on Woodlands Water page, but we wanted to reinforce it here in a different visual way. And then what's included. So people often want to know, what projects are you talking about? And again, that is still going to be added to the website, detailed information about projects, but we did want to address that and talk about how, that is still being determined. Y'all were talking about one of the projects earlier still being in a study phase. And so right now we're looking at how we're going to determine that, including things like using condition assessments, expected service life, staff inspections, study results. Those will all be taken into consideration as projects are chosen to be a part of this. We also have news and updates. We did a news release when we launched the page, and we'll continue to do news releases and updates as there's new information. So for example, when we launch an interactive map, you'll definitely see some updates pushed out to the customers about that. And then there's option to stay in touch with us to sign up for newsletters. And we are getting people signing up for that already. So that's definitely exciting. And then we'll be pushing information out through those newsletters as well. But Woodlands Water is also pushing out a lot of the information. We definitely have learned, people really like to get Woodlands Water Weekly, and that is a huge source of information. So we're definitely utilizing that. If we go to the rest of the tabs about the plan, again, this page is going to kind of evolve over time as more details are announced. But this does talk about, what is the plan? What is the renewal plan? What is that going to include? Some common terminology, what is water infrastructure? Some people might want to know a little bit more about exactly what we're talking about. So we're trying to make it visually appealing so people do want to read it. Renewal plan, benefits, what would be some of the benefits of doing some of these projects potentially, continuing to comply with the state and federal regulations, just being one. This also talks about, the typical asset management life cycle. And so this isn't necessarily tying this back to any given project, but it is giving some of that common terminology again about, how the general life cycle of an asset goes. Water is serious business. We do know that water ties to our quality of life. Water ties to our businesses and our economic development. And so this goes a little bit into more detail about how water can relate to those things. And these are also graphics that we've created for the website, but may be used in other settings, as well if they make sense, such as a brochure or a handout. And then at the top, we have about us. So this goes back into the partners again and who they are. And a little bit more information about each one. We also have a graphic that explains who does what, which assets are managed by which entity. So again, going back to that education and awareness, so everyone has that common understanding of what everybody does. Because again, that was a point of that needed a little more clarity. All right, and then I think we have the FAQs next. So FAQs is always a popular page because people go here, to find out kind of, well, have they answered the question that I have? And what I really want to hit on with FAQs is that these are also not static. Frequently asked questions can also be ever evolving, because as people have questions, we can address them here on this page, because, oftentimes when someone has a question, someone else has that same question. So we want to put it on. We've actually, I think, already added one FAQ throughout the campaign so far. So that will definitely be a dynamic process. And then get involved. We do.
Did I miss a part which shows what is the fiscal impact to the individual citizen?
So that will be coming. We will definitely, that's one of those kind of stay tuned.
I didn't see that on the FAQ.
There was one, that was one of the ones we added. I think that might have been toward the bottom, I think was where you put it, but we did, like, someone asked, will my mud tax rate or water bill be increased? And so we did add a question, an answer for that. But to your point, more detailed information that's the plan, is to add that once it's defined. Get involved. We want people to get involved. There will be multiple ways. We'll talk about that a little bit more as I finish out the PowerPoint, but we definitely want people to get engaged. So as you're talking to folks, please send them over here to the site. They can get to it from Woodlands Water as well. There's like a big banner when you get onto that website to put people on this page as well. So encourage them to sign up, ask questions. We want to hear from them. So those other pages, you can click on them, but they're kind of similar. Just, submit your question, sign up for the email list. Events, there will be a calendar of events once we start scheduling those events, or we might come out to already ongoing community events. Media, we wanted them to have their own landing page as well. Anyone's welcome to go here, but for the media to have a one-stop shop for anything they need. And then contact, who can they talk to if they have a question? And I think under contact, it also does have find your mud. So if people come here and they're like, wait, which mud am I in again? I can't remember. There's a way for them to find that out. So that is the website as it currently stands. We are actively working on more content for the site, and look forward to posting that up there in the near future.
Question for you.
Yeah.
If we have comments after reviewing the website, do we go through the website? Do we do Eric? Do we do John? Do you? How would you suggest for the board members to give feedback?
Yeah, I might lean on Eric a little bit
Sure.
for that question.
John or I, either one. Yep, we'll get it covered.
Which would you prefer?
You can send it to me. That's
Good, okay.
In this website, there's a state website called MudView. Are you guys aware of that?
I will definitely look that up. I hadn't heard of
It's
that.
called MudView, and so it's a GIS type site. What you do is you go to it, you click on it, and you type your address in, and it'll show you a map, and you can double click on your house. It'll tell you what mud you're in. And I find that probably the most reliable way to find out my mud, other than my tax bill.
Yeah, there was a comment on that from one of the other months last month when we talked about we're going to be constantly looking at ways to update it.
And the state maintains that, so you just got a link to it.
Yeah, hopefully it's accurate.
Yeah, I found a few errors.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you for letting me know about that. All right, so what's next? So kind of a misnomer, because we have launched the website and the whole campaign as of September 19th. So like Eric said, about almost a month ago now. Throughout last month and this month, we're still working through community working group appointments. I think we do have one from this month, so thank you. Director Cronin, you're going to be on the committee there. And we are hoping to have that first meeting by mid-November. That is our goal right now for that community working group. And the community working group will be really instrumental in weighing in on public messaging, what's needed, what's missing, where are there gaps, what do they love, what do they hate, kind of deal. So we are really looking forward to that valuable input. You can go to the next slide. Oh, I guess that's it. I thought we had one more slide about about public meetings. Maybe I missed it. Did it already go? Wait. Okay.
Yep.
Yep, that's it. I guess I covered it all. Yeah, I was just going to mention that some of the other things that are planned, as I was mentioning, people get involved, encouraging everyone is, we will look forward to potentially an open house where people can come and ask questions, as well as having a presence at various community events and things like that. But those will be things the community working group can also help guide. So we are using time wisely. So any other questions?
Yes. So for the contact us, who receives that input?
That goes to me and then my counterpart, Connor, and then we actually work with John and Eric to address any questions that come in and make them aware of any inquiries that we receive.
And then, so for the sign up, so people can sign up to get communications via that website. We don't rent or sell that list to anybody, correct?
Correct. That is maintained by Holloway, and that is the property of Estuary and Woodlands Water. So we definitely do not sell that. That is confidential.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
And then what are the quantifiable goals for this campaign? Because you did call it a campaign.
Yeah, well, we call, any kind of public awareness campaign, like letting people know about about the initiative. The quantifiable goals is really about transparency and awareness, increasing that, depending on the outcome of the studies and various things that are ongoing, that will inform, kind of where that goes. But it's really about, at this point, providing education and awareness and letting as many Woodlands Water customers know about the projects that are already funded and then potential projects that are to come.
Okay, so when we get the information in May or June of 2025 about the wastewater treatment facility one, will that go on the website then? And what's that message? How is that messaging going to be displayed between the individual MUD and WWA and SJRA?
Any project that is considered a renewal project, so it could potentially be that project or any others, that will definitely be something that would be recommended to go on the website. As far as how exactly it would be messaged, it really depends on the outcome of ongoing studies, ongoing analysis. And I definitely, it is a collaborative effort. So we would be coming to the working group. We would be talking with SJRA, Woodlands Water about exactly how to message that, because we're not pushing out anything that is not approved to go out.
And then who is on the public education committee?
Ooh, I do have the list on my phone. I'm sorry, the Public Education Committee. Okay, I was thinking of the working group. I was like, do you have the list in your head, Eric, of who is all?
Several trustees, Howard Hughes, WWA, SJRA as a member, Township as a member, 4 trustees, I think are on it.
Basically, people who are pro replacement.
And staff, and then,
It's slanted.
WWA staff.
Who are the trustees? Gaynor?
The Gaynor is the chair, Arthur Breedhoff, Hugh Connett, Bob Lux, and Neil Gaynor, Dr. Gaynor.
Maureen, could you put the picture of the website back on the screen? Please. So that strip of land no longer looks like that. Do you feel like that's representative of what the woodlands looks like now?
We can definitely look at modifying that picture if it's not representative of the woodlands.
All those trees are torn down now. That is where Hughes Landing is. That's North Shore Park, correct? Is that North Shore Park?
Yes.
You might want to change that picture.
Thank you. That's really great feedback.
We need to move, we need to keep moving.
Thanks all.
We're running on time.
Okay, let's go back to item number 12.
Just a quick update, we did have a stakeholders meeting a couple weeks ago. And basically the stakeholders heard what you heard in June, which was a presentation from the engineer to talk about kind of where we came from, what they've been doing, building the model of the project itself. And then coming out of that meeting, we determined or gave the directive to the engineer to come back to us with some cost estimates on running a couple different scenarios at the model. And 2 in particular would be 1, if the cost estimate is more than what we have to do what the current look is, what can we do with the money we have? So what benefit do we get out of that? And then secondly, what benefit would we get out of doing basically using half the money we have? So there's actually a second stakeholder meeting scheduled for November 1st. And I expect at that meeting, we'll hear from the engineer, talk about what the cost estimate was for that, and then make a decision on what to do at that point to likely have them proceed with running a couple different scenarios at the moment. So that's the update.
So, Maureen, can you send Wendy that link to the video also?
I believe everybody has.
Everybody has it?
Everybody has
Sure.
that.
Everybody got it? Okay. Okay,
People drive.
that's good. Okay, we'll go to item 13.
Status on the SFDOE project is I've continued to run into more obstacles to get authentic and legitimate data. I've got it down to 9 questions, and it's my objective that I'll be contacting Maureen to get either confirmation or direct me to a place to get the information to validate it. When I have a draft report, it's going out to Eric with a copy to Ed Shackelford for comments, and it's my hope that I'll get feedback and be able to publish it with the oversight of Eric and Ed by the time the next package gets out, and hopefully include it in the package for the November meeting.
How about attorney's report?
No general items under the attorney's report today. I do need to cover the policy content with y'all. If you have any questions for me.
The court case with Quadvest and
No.
SRA still?
They touched on it in one of the earlier meetings this round and said they're still waiting on the federal judge to
Okay.
rule on the antitrust.
Okay.
Lifetime tenure.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. How about item 15?
Yeah,
Item
so 15, the annual review of the district's investment policy. So as we talked about in prior years, the district has an investment policy that's in compliance with the Texas Public Funds Investment Act. That act requires that districts review those policies on an annual basis and make any changes that are necessary. Our firm conducts that review on behalf of all of our district clients, and we make recommendations to the districts as to whether or not any changes are necessary. This year, we do not have any recommended changes, so we've prepared the resolution to reflect that we've conducted the annual review and that no changes are necessary at this time. Do you need a motion on the resolution?
Make a motion that we approve the resolution.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, 16, Eric, general manager's report.
All right, thank you. Good evening. Last month we were under construction, so now you can see we've made some adjustments to the lighting and to paint around the public areas of the office. So we'll continue to move in that direction and make the improvements that we've talked about before. So it's ongoing. Wanted to point out, I did speak to the Village Association presidents last week. One, to kind of educate them on the Water Renewal of the Woodlands campaign and website, but more importantly, to ask them to identify a representative to join the community working group, as we mentioned the month before. So we've got a few of those in already, and as soon as we have everybody identified, of course, all the MUDs are identified. As soon as we have everybody else identified, as Cindy said, we will be trying to get that meeting scheduled for hopefully November. Want to point out in your packet, we do have a couple thank yous and emails and things that we received from customers that I always like to share with you, as well as we have a employee anniversary. June hit 26 years.
Yes.
WWA, so I always like to share that with you guys as well. Did want to share that we have identified and have an acceptance of a new deputy general manager. We'll be starting November 4th. That individual, her name is Kim Wright. She's currently the general manager at Southern Montgomery County MUD, which is across the freeway and south of here. Been in that position for about 3 or 4 years. And then prior to that, my understanding is she worked as the Highlands Division Manager for about 4 or 5 years prior to that. So we're looking forward to her start in early November. Did want to point out, we had a pretty successful event, AWD New Directors 101 event that that we had 17 directors attend. We brought 20 directors to the event. It was a great event. And with kind of piggybacking onto that momentum of having so much engagement in that, what I thought I would do is going forward, share with you all in each of the MUDs kind of the upcoming schedule of events that AWBD has in store for things. Obviously, they provide quite a bit of resources for directors, in the industry, things that are going on in the industry, both for new directors and experienced directors. There's always some new information that typically comes about. So I was going to share with you the next few events that they are coming out with. October 25th, there's an industry webinar at noon that day. Then on October 30th in the evening from 6 to 8:30, there's the fall seminar that's on the west side of town. That's typically about an hour and a half single topic seminar. And then January 24th and 25th is their midwinter conference. And that's a day and a half conference roughly. And that's in Austin this coming year. So if anyone has any interest in attending any of these or getting registered for any of these, please let us know. Shelley can help you. You can do it yourself or let us know and we'll help you out. And so with that, I'll kick it over to John for communication, certainly.
Yeah. And this is really for the board. If you take a look at the project analysis here done by the SGRA, which is pretty good, they're managing by objectives. And one of them is looking back over the past 2 years of monthly reports for the WWA since I've been elected. I don't see a specific, definitive MBO type process, management by objective process for the WWA. And my question to the four of you, do you believe that's important, that Eric should begin to focus on that, not only for the WWA, but also for the senior managers and executives of the WWA, so we'll be able to measure their performance either on a quarterly basis or annual basis to determine how effective they are from the beginning of the budget process to the end of what are the results? Because you kind of talked about that, both of you ladies did. What are we getting for this? How do we measure the communications program? My question is, should we be doing that to the total WWA and even bring it down to some of the managers and executives? How do you all feel about that?
I like the process.
Me too.
That's how
I'm biased, yeah.
Me too. I like the process. I don't know how much of an extra burden it's going to put on staff. That's a concern. But I would like it, yes, because I operate that way.
Me too. Okay.
Tom, you're gonna say something.
Well, I don't like it myself. I think what we're doing is micromanaging the process here.
I respect that opinion too. There's pros and cons.
So, so there was a brief discussion at the trustee meeting a year or so ago, and in closed session, and I'd like to revisit that in the WWA meeting, and I think I'd like to hear what was very briefly discussed, and then come back and address that after I become a little more knowledgeable.
Let me ask Eric, what is your opinion on it?
I'm not very familiar with it, to be honest with you. I
can
say if it has any
I'll see those
micromanagement
articles.
to it, I'd be highly opposed to it, but.
Yeah, I don't, it,
Yeah.
Because that's.
terms are loosely defined.
Sure, but you'd have to know. I mean, obviously, I have been given objectives by the trustees and my performance is based on that. And so that's what I operate under.
So it seems to me, we just need more of an educational content to explain what fully is.
Yeah, I'm going to send the MBO. Well, I'm going to send it to Shelley to distribute to the group here so we can make a more informed decision. But if MBO process begins to micromanage a department or a person, that's the wrong implementation of the process. The process is that a manager says, I intend to do these things during the year based on the money that I've requested in the budget process. And here's what I'm going to be delivering for that money. And those are measurable, specific events. It's not like I'm here to improve the paint. okay? Or the lighting fixtures, that's an irrelevant MBO.
For me, it's departmental goals.
Precisely.
Each one of my managers has to do this in a departmental way, and I know what their goals are for the year and then I can assess their accomplishments as we go into each quarter. That's just my personal management style.
Right, and
Yeah, no, I'm definitely familiar with that. We're actually building performance-based evaluations going forward. That hasn't been a part.
Attached to goal setting.
Well, yes, but it's a lot easier to do that in the private sector.
Good point.
Okay, so some of it.
someone's gonna have to educate me on that over a beer problem.
We don't have P and L, we don't have P and L.
It is P and L, I'm not advocating
just saying.
financial,
Yeah.
okay?
But that's an easier goal to
Right.
track.
It's easy to manage because we track it.
Sure.
Maureen does it every month. What I'm looking at is deliverables for things like the communications program.
Right.
Things like, specific projects that have a global impact.
And
on
goal
all-
deadlines.
There you go. Right, exactly. So I can send you information to look at.
Yep.
And Shelley can send it out to the board here, and we can table it until
I
November.
can tell you, goal deadlines and this concept really transformed my company in terms of its ability to be more successful and more thinking towards the future and reaching out. And also it was very satisfying for the management team. They enjoyed actually doing it. Once the fear, I call it fear porn, once the fear subsided, they actually embraced it because it gave them something to hold on to. Not necessarily a negative.
Yeah, and
I think that's what we're.
it also gets everybody on the same page.
Mhm.
It is no longer, well, I thought I was gonna do this to accomplish it. No, here are
Right.
your objectives.
Right.
And here's how they mesh together between the departments of the people. And they should be measurable. They
Yes, I
should not be qualitative. And certainly they should not be micromanaging oriented. That's not the purpose of it. I'll send the info to you.
Sounds
Well,
good.
to get to my point, I mean, I used to teach this stuff. And I think the job is his, not ours, to be doing that kind of management style. That's just micromanaging his job.
I think we're also just letting him know that these concepts exist and may be implemented, that he's not aware of it. So there's also an educational process involved that maybe this might work better for you. You don't know.
Yeah, and maybe them already doing it.
You,
Just not-
exactly,
Very well be.
Your terminology.
exactly,
It's a
I think
management
so.
style.
right,
Yep.
right.
Okay. We'll table that for further discussion in another month. One thing that I mentioned to Eric, in the past couple of years, we haven't had meetings on in December. So we don't have to make a decision today about meeting in December, but the meeting is a week before Christmas. And so we can make a decision to not do that this month, or we can wait till November. If anybody, one year there were plans, some people had plans
Yeah,
to
I
do.
think a lot of people are waiting for a certain time, 3 weeks from today, to decide what they're going to plan to do for their travel plans.
Yeah, so we need to think about it. We can make a decision tonight, or we can wait to November and make the decision then.
I think November's a good idea.
I'll make a motion that we postpone the December meeting.
Defer.
Oh, okay,
Defer it.
okay. So what he's saying is that we're gonna postpone it and we can reinstate it if something comes up
Correct.
in the month of November.
If something's time sensitive, we can always, as long as we post an agenda 72 hours in advance. then
Yeah.
it's a whole meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody understand Tom's suggestion?
Yes.
Need a second.
See you in a second? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay,
Eric, I did have a quick question about the annual hydrant audit and flushing program. Since we haven't had any significant rain in the past 30 days, is there any way that we could do some of the flushing now, since a lot of the
We do
grass
it
is dry?
continuously. Yeah, we do it all year long.
Right, when's the next schedule for Sterling Ridge?
But it's not across the entire woodlands. It's certain areas that are on a flushing plan. So. But we don't use it for irrigation.
I understand
Yeah.
that,
Okay.
but we had the flushing happened right after the hurricane.
I know. It's really
Due to a lightning strike, however.
Yes.
Could we, while we're talking, could we get an update on the main break that happened last Monday?
Yeah, we've had We've had 3 in the last 6 days, 2 yesterday. Yeah, the one on Monday was at the northeast corner intersection of Research Forest and Research Park. And the utility contractor drilled through our pipe, directional drilling underground. It just happens that it's under concrete, it's under drainage piping, 30-inch,
They
330.
drilled through concrete?
No, they drilled through our plastic pipe,
I got you.
but our pipe sits under 3, we call them barrels, 3
Right.
RCP, 3 or 4, 30-inch diameter pipes, and our pipe's sitting underneath it. And they drill through it, so water.
Everywhere.
Yeah, concrete, it's a mess. Well, we learned about it roughly around 5 p.m. or so, and by midnight it was back on, just before midnight. So it's amazing what has to go in motion when something like that happens. 20, 30 people are involved just in communications and contractors and everything. So just a mess. But hopefully we're getting close to being able to get the pavement put back and everything. But
This is a naive question, I know. Are they liable for the cost of repair?
And we likely?
no,
That's the real question.
yeah, that is the real
Real
question.
question.
We're gonna try. I mean, we got to try.
So you mentioned 3, the other ones were,
Yeah, one in Grogan's Point yesterday, and one, and the one that you had called me about, with Craftwood and Willis Parkway, just around the corner. I think it's South Abrams. Yeah, and that one was actually, I believe, one that the contractor didn't hit. That just it broke. And then the other one, no, excuse me, contractor did hit that one. The one in Grogan's Point, contractor, it was not contractor.
So 2 out of 3.
2 out of 3 contractors hit.
any of these breaks in 46?
Yes,
That
that,
last one?
Woodland.
Craftwood. Okay.
Why don't we ever get repayment?
good question, but typically, to be candid, usually it's the legal to try to capture is usually, it wouldn't be them.
Okay.
But no, just for you to go sue them in court to get paid would be more than what it's worth.
Right.
And so just in general, that's usually what happens.
Does it happen to be the same contractor?
No, they're all different. The parent organization, whether it's a fiber company or whatever, we use a sub of a sub.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens, and we'll go after them, we probably have.
How much more, like going to it, open session, to the extent we are, pursuing them. I mean, we
Yeah.
went after,
That's
the
right.
largest one in the last year or so was Takis,
Right.
and they're subs. And
Don't talk to me about that company.
we did use outside litigation counsel to pursue them and were able to reach a settlement ultimately with them. We can, to the extent we have any particular ones we need to talk about, probably best to cover it closed. So
Okay, the trustees report, item 17, we've kind of talked about bits and pieces of it, throughout this discussion, so I don't think there's anything, unless you guys want to look at the report on pages 54 and 56 and have questions. But we've touched on probably like 5 items we've talked about in the trustees board meeting. Any questions? Okay, so we're going to go to item 18 for no closed session. So anything on the agenda for next month, other than the 2 abatements for payment? We have those 2.
And the whole thread.
Anything going?
Absolutely. Dragging his feet.
What's that?
Mr. Letterman's been dragging his feet on this SFDU issue.
Yes.
For what, the last 2 years?
I've been coaching them.
I want to put it back on the agenda.
Yeah. Get his act together.
Oh, so that's what you spoke today. You have some inquiries to make on the SFDU's calculation. So I think
Yes.
another 30 days.
I just need to get valid data, because right now the information I got gives me a number, but I want to be able to reference where my sources are so everyone will know it's complete and accurate, and then have the 2 general managers, take a look at it. and go from there, because then there can't be any questions on it, because that's going to be our benchmark going forward.
And it puts some heat on the Fred. You know, we may not be here in December, so it's either this November discussion or it's a January.
Either November or January.
I got it.
We'll get it.
I'd also like to add about the ruling about the fluoride in the water that came out from the ports to the next meeting.
What's that?
So EPA has to go back and redo their regulations on fluoride in the water that came out in the past couple weeks. And I had a few constituents ask me about that.
We don't put fluoride in our water.
That was one of the questions I had asked of
Yeah, we got
Esther.
this.
right?
Doesn't really factor for us, but I'll pull it, see if I can find something on it.
All right, I make the motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's